A millionaire gets a 860 similes call in Arabic and panics without a translator until a 7-year-old orphan girl takes control, revealing a hidden talent that leaves everyone in shock. What she said changed everything. Before we dive in, this video is crossing time zones right now. What season are you experiencing where you are? The September rain hammered against the windows of Giovanni's restaurant in downtown Chicago as Robert Mitchell stared at his vibrating phone. The number displayed was international, Saudi Arabia. His hands trembled as he answered. "Hello?" The voice on the other end spoke rapidly in Arabic, urgency bleeding through every syllable. Robert's face drained of color. He caught fragments. 867 million, 48 hours, or the deal dies forever. His Arabic was elementary at best, learned from a few business trips, but he understood enough to know this was the call he'd been waiting 3 years for. The merger that would save his tech company from bankruptcy. "Please, slower, I need a translator." But the caller continued, rattling off what sounded like account numbers, coordinates, meeting details. Robert frantically searched his phone for his translator's number. Damn it, the man was in Tokyo until next week. Sarah Thompson pressed her small face against the restaurant window, her stomach cramping from 3 days without food. The dumpsters were locked tonight, and the rain had soaked through her thin jacket hours ago. Through the glass, she watched the rich people eating their steaks and pastas, but one man caught her attention. He was panicking, speaking broken Arabic into his phone, sweating despite the air conditioning. She recognized that desperation. She'd seen it in the mirror of abandoned buildings. The man kept saying, La, min fadlik. No, please, but his pronunciation was so wrong, the caller probably couldn't understand him. Sarah had learned Arabic from Mr. Hassan, the Syrian refugee who'd lived next door before her parents died. He'd taught her while her parents worked double shifts, never knowing those lessons would outlive them all. The restaurant door burst open, and the frantic man, Robert, stumbled out, still clutching his phone. He was saying, "Translator! I need a translator," to anyone who'd listen. But the Chicago streets were empty except for rain and a small, soaked figure. Sarah stepped forward from the shadows. "Mr." Her voice was tiny but clear. "I can help you." Robert almost dismissed her. A homeless child, what could she possibly? But then she spoke in perfect Arabic. "Tell him you're listening and you understand the urgency. Ask him to repeat the account details slowly." Robert's eyes widened. He thrust the phone toward her with shaking hands. "Please, this call, it's everything." Sarah took the phone, her small fingers steady despite her hunger. She spoke rapidly in Arabic, her voice shifting from childlike to professionally competent. "Yes, Mr. Al-Rashid. Mr. Mitchell is here with his translator. We apologize for the confusion. Please provide the details again." For 20 minutes, she translated flawlessly. Complex financial terms, legal stipulations, meeting coordinates in Dubai. She grabbed a napkin from Robert's pocket and wrote everything down, her handwriting neat despite her trembling from cold. "The funds must be transferred to the Swiss account by Thursday noon, Dubai time. The meeting is at the Burj Al Arab Presidential Suite, September 15th at 3 p.m. Bring the original patents and the FDA approvals," she translated, never missing a beat. When the call ended, Robert stared at the 7-year-old girl who'd just saved his entire empire. Her face was gaunt, her clothes were rags, but her eyes held an intelligence that seemed impossible. How do you know Arabic? And those financial terms?" Sarah's voice returned to that of a scared child. "Mr. Hassan taught me before the fire." She swayed on her feet, exhaustion and hunger finally overwhelming adrenaline. Robert caught her before she collapsed. "When did you last eat?" Sarah's eyes fluttered. "Thursday, I think. Or maybe Wednesday." That was 3 days ago. Robert's heart shattered. This child had saved him while starving. Robert carried Sarah into Giovanni's, shouting for food and warm towels. The staff rushed to help, and within minutes, Sarah was wrapped in tablecloths, sipping warm soup with shaking hands. "Slowly, sweetheart, slowly," Martha, the manager, cautioned. Robert sat across from her, still processing everything. "What's your name?" "Sarah Thompson," she whispered between sips. "You're alone?" Sarah nodded, her eyes filling with tears she'd trained herself not to shed, since the fire 2 years ago. Robert's phone buzzed with a confirmation email from Al-Rashid. Everything Sarah had translated was there, perfect to the last detail. This 7-year-old had just facilitated the biggest deal of his career. But looking at her thin face, her old soul eyes, Robert realized something worth far more than 867 million had just walked into his life. "Sarah," he said softly, "you saved me tonight. Now let me save you." The warmth of the restaurant felt like a dream Sarah might wake from at any moment. She'd learned not to trust comfort. It always disappeared. But the soup was real, warming her from inside, and the man across from her, Robert he'd said his name was, kept looking at her with something she hadn't seen in 2 years. Genuine concern. "Tell me about Mr. Hassan," Robert said gently, pushing a basket of bread toward her. Sarah took a small piece, her survival instincts making her pocket 2 more when she thought he wasn't looking. Robert pretended not to notice. "He lived next door in our old apartment," Sarah began, her voice stronger now with food in her stomach. "He was from Aleppo, his whole family." She paused, understanding death too well for 7 years old. "They didn't make it out. He was lonely, and Mom and Dad worked all the time, so he taught me Arabic after school. He said languages were bridges between hearts." Martha brought over a plate of pasta, and Sarah's eyes widened. "This is too much," she whispered, but Martha just smoothed her wet hair. "Honey, you eat what you can." As Sarah ate, Robert made phone calls, first to his lawyer, then to his assistant. "Clear my schedule for tomorrow. Everything." He watched Sarah carefully cut her pasta, using proper manners despite her desperation. "Where have you been staying, Sarah?" She hesitated. Trust was dangerous on the streets. "Different places. There's a heating vent behind the library that's warm, and Mrs. Chen at the bakery sometimes leaves day-old bread by her dumpster, but not locked inside." Each word was a knife to Robert's heart. This brilliant child had been surviving on garbage and heating vents. "The fire," Robert asked carefully, "was that when?" Sarah nodded, her hand unconsciously moving to a scar on her neck, usually hidden by her collar. "December 23rd, 2022. 2 years ago. The apartment building on Ashland Avenue. Faulty wiring, they said. 12 people didn't make it out. Mom and Dad tried to get everyone out. They went back for Mr. Hassan, but the stairs collapsed." She stated it factually, like reading a news report, the only way she could bear to tell it. "I was at school, at the Christmas play practice. The principal misses. Morrison, she drove me to the hospital, but they were already gone." Robert's assistant texted back, "The Ashland Avenue fire was real, 12 casualties. James and Mary Thompson among them." "Sarah, didn't anyone, child services, foster care, didn't they help you?" Sarah's expression darkened. "The first foster home, the man, he wasn't nice. I ran away after 3 days. The second one just wanted the check. They didn't even notice when I left. After that, I learned to hide." She pulled her oversized jacket tighter, her armor against the world. "I'm good at being invisible. At the library I read all day. Mrs. Patterson, the librarian, she pretends not to see me, but she leaves sandwiches sometimes, and I still study. Mom wouldn't want me to stop learning." The idea that this 7-year-old had been educating herself while homeless was staggering. Robert's phone rang. His lawyer. He stepped away, but stayed where Sarah could see him. She'd learned to track exits and threats. "Tom, I need you to research something tonight. A 7-year-old named Sarah Thompson, orphaned in the Ashland Avenue fire. I want to know her legal status and what it would take to—" He paused, the word catching in his throat, "to protect her permanently." Uday, when he returned to the table, Sarah had cleaned her plate and was folding her napkin precisely. "Mr. Mitchell, thank you for the food. I should go before the rain gets worse. The library vent gets taken if you're not there by 10. Robert's heart broke. "Sarah, you're not going back to that vent. Not tonight. Not ever if I can help it." Sarah's eyes filled with suspicion. She'd heard promises before. Adults promised things when they felt guilty, then forgot when the guilt faded. "I don't need charity," she said with dignity beyond her years. "I helped you with your call. We're even." Robert leaned forward. "Sarah, you didn't just help me. You saved my company." That translation, do you understand what you did? You facilitated an international merger worth hundreds of millions. You used financial terminology that MBA graduates struggle with. You're 7 years old and you're brilliant. But more than that, you're brave and kind. You helped a stranger when you had nothing. Sarah looked down. "Mr. Hassan said, helping others when you have nothing is when it counts most. He said that's when you find out who you really are." The hotel suite was larger than any apartment Sarah had ever lived in. Robert had insisted on the Palmer house's family suite. With security he'd hired to watch the hallway, not to keep Sarah in, but to help her feel safe. She stood at the window watching the city lights below, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. "The bathroom has a tub," Robert said gently. "There are fresh clothes in the bedroom. My assistant guessed your size. Tomorrow we'll get you proper things." Sarah touched the glass, leaving a small handprint. "Tomorrow, you'll remember you have a real life to get back to. Important people don't keep street kids around." Her voice was matter-of-fact, self-protective. "That's not what's happening here, Sarah," Robert said firmly. "I've already called my lawyer. We're going to do this right, legally. You're not going back to the streets." While Sarah took her first hot bath in 2 years, Robert sat in the living room with his laptop researching. The Ashland Avenue fire had been a tragedy that made headlines for a week, then disappeared. James Thompson had been a paramedic, Mary Thompson, a night shift nurse. They'd died as they'd lived, trying to save others. Their daughter had simply vanished into the system's cracks. Robert found a photo from a news article, the Thompson family at a community fair, Sarah on her father's shoulders, all three laughing. That happy child seemed like a different person from the survivor in his bathroom. His phone buzzed with a text from his lawyer. "Sarah Thompson is listed as a runaway from foster care. 2 families reported her missing, but didn't pursue it. Technically, she's ward of the state. I can file for emergency custody tomorrow, but Robert, are you sure about this?" Sarah emerged in pajamas that hung loosely on her thin frame, her wet hair combed carefully. She'd folded her old clothes neatly, even though they were beyond salvaging. "You can throw those away," Robert said gently. "No," Sarah clutched them. "They're mine. My mom patched this jacket, see?" She showed him careful stitches on the sleeve. "She worked 12-hour shifts, but she still fixed my clothes herself. Said store-bought wasn't made with love." Robert nodded, understanding. "We'll keep them. Always." Sarah relaxed slightly, then noticed the laptop. "You were researching me." It wasn't a question. "Yes," Robert admitted. "Your parents were heroes, Sarah. Do you know how many people they saved over the years?" 43, Sarah said quietly. "I kept track. 45 if you count Mr. Hassan and Mrs. Rodriguez, but they didn't make it out of the building." She sat carefully on the edge of the couch, still not trusting comfort. "Did you know your dad saved my brother once?" Robert pulled up an old email. 5 years ago, car accident on Lakeshore Drive. My brother Marcus was trapped. Your dad got him out before the car exploded. I never knew his name until tonight." Sarah's eyes widened. "The white BMW? Dad came home with singed eyebrows. Mom was so mad but also proud. For the first time she almost smiled. He said the guy's brother sent a thank you card to the station. "That was me," Robert said softly. "I never got to thank him properly." "Mr. Mitchell," Sarah said carefully, "you don't owe me anything because of my dad. That's not how it works. He didn't save people so they'd owe him." Robert moved to sit beside her, maintaining respectful distance. "You're right, but here's what I learned tonight. Sometimes the universe gives us a chance to balance things. Your parents spent their lives saving others. Tonight, their daughter saved me. Not just the business deal. You saved me from becoming someone who would walk past a child in need. The money I almost lost tonight, it's just numbers. But you, Sarah, you're real. Your parents raised someone extraordinary." Sarah's composure finally cracked. "I miss them so much," she whispered. And then the tears came, 2 years' worth. Robert didn't try to hug her. He understood she wasn't ready for that. He simply sat there, a steady presence, and handed her tissues. "Tell me about them," he said. So Sarah did. She talked about her mother's terrible singing in the shower, her father's Sunday morning pancakes shaped like animals. She talked about Mr. Hassan teaching her Arabic curse words when her parents weren't listening, making her promise not to use them. She talked until her voice grew hoarse and her eyes heavy. "Sarah," Robert said as she started to drift off, "I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. If you could choose, if you had complete choice, would you let me help you, not because you owe me, not because of your parents, but because you deserve to be safe and loved?" The morning sun streamed through the hotel windows, and for a moment Sarah forgot where she was. The bed was too soft, the room too warm. Then it all came back. The restaurant, the phone call, Mr. Mitchell, Robert. She found him in the suite's living room, already on his phone, papers spread across the coffee table. "No, Tom, I don't care about the complications. Find a way. She's 7 years old and brilliant. Yes, I said brilliant, I said. She speaks fluent Arabic and understands complex financial terms. What do you mean flight risk? She's not a criminal. She's a child who was failed by the system." He noticed Sarah and softened his voice. "I'll call you back." He hung up and smiled at her. "Good morning. There's breakfast on the table. Real breakfast, not hotel continental nonsense." Sarah saw pancakes, shaped like bears and rabbits, just like her father used to make. Her throat tightened. "How did you—" "I called the hotel chef at 5 a.m., Robert admitted. "Sent him photos from your family's social media. I hope that's okay. I wanted—" He paused, choosing words carefully. "I wanted you to have something familiar, something that says you're worth the effort." Sarah sat down slowly, touching a rabbit ear with one finger. "My dad said the ears were the hardest part. You had to pour just right." She took a bite, and though it wasn't exactly the same, the effort behind it meant everything. "Your lawyer doesn't want you to keep me," she said. It wasn't accusatory, just observant. "He thinks I'll cause problems." "Tom's job is to worry about problems," Robert said, joining her at the table. "My job is to solve them. And you, Sarah, are not a problem. You're a solution I didn't know I needed." He pulled out a tablet. "I want to show you something." The screen displayed architectural plans. "This is my house in Lincoln Park. 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a library, a real library, Sarah, with floor-to-ceiling books. There's a garden where we could plant whatever you want. The school district is the best in Chicago." Sarah studied the plans like she'd studied Arabic texts. "Why do you live alone in such a big house?" Robert's smile turned sad. "I bought it 5 years ago when I was engaged. She decided she didn't want the life I was offering. Since then, it's just been me and empty rooms." "Empty rooms and empty hearts," Sarah said quietly, one of Mr. Hassan's phrases. He used to say that about his house in Aleppo before the war. All those rooms that should have had his children's laughter. Robert was continually stunned by her depth. Sarah, I need to be very clear about something. I'm not trying to replace your parents. No one could. But I would like to offer you a home. A real home. Legal adoption, if you'll have me. Not because you saved my deal, but because I think we could save each other. Sarah put down her fork. I'm not easy. I have nightmares. I hide food in my pockets. I don't trust easily. Sometimes I test people to see if they'll leave. She listed her flaws like a product disclaimer. I know things kids shouldn't know about surviving. I work too much, Robert countered. I've never raised a child. I eat cereal for dinner when I'm stressed. I'm terrified of failing you. But I'm more terrified of not trying. Before Sarah could respond, his phone rang. The caller ID showed an international number. Robert's face went pale. It's Al-Rashid, the Dubai call. He answered, and immediately rapid Arabic filled the room. Sarah listened, her expression growing concerned. He's saying there's a problem, she translated quickly. Someone is questioning the legitimacy of the deal. They want to know who your translator was last night. They're saying... She paused, translating carefully. They're saying a child's voice was heard. They think it might be fraud or coercion. Robert's stomach dropped. If the Dubai partners thought he was using a child inappropriately, or that the translation was faulty, the deal would die. Worse, there could be legal implications. Tell them, Robert said to Sarah, but she was already speaking into the phone he'd handed her. Her Arabic was rapid, professional, and absolutely convincing. She explained her background, mentioned specific Syrian dialect markers that proved her authenticity, even made a joke about a famous Arabic poet that made Al-Rashid laugh. Mr. Al-Rashid wants to video call, Sarah translated. He wants to see that I'm real and that you're not exploiting me. Robert set up his laptop, and within minutes they were facing a distinguished man in a pristine white thobe. This is the child? Al-Rashid asked in accented English, studying Sarah intently. Young lady, tell me, where did you learn such perfect Arabic? Sarah straightened, answering in Arabic, then translating for Robert. I told him about Mr. Hassan, about the Syrian dialect, about studying at the library. Al-Rashid asked several complex questions about Arabic poetry, Syrian customs, even tested her with financial terminology. Sarah answered flawlessly. Finally, Al-Rashid smiled. Mr. Mitchell, this child is remarkable. In my culture, we believe orphans are blessed by Allah, protected by angels. That one has come to you at this moment. It is no coincidence. The deal stands, but on one condition. Robert held his breath. You must promise to care for this child. She's too precious to be lost again. Detective James Carter sat across from Robert in the hotel suite, his notebook open, while Sarah was in the bedroom with Linda Foster, the social worker. Mr. Mitchell, you understand how this looks, Carter said, not unkindly. Millionaire finds homeless child who conveniently speaks Arabic just when he needs a translator for a massive deal. Now he wants to adopt her immediately. We have to investigate. Robert's jaw tightened. Investigate what? That I want to help a child who saved my business? That I want to give her a home? Carter leaned back. The foster families she ran from are making noise. They're saying she's disturbed, violent. That she's a pathological liar who makes up stories about speaking multiple languages. Robert's laugh was bitter. Have you tested her Arabic? She's fluent and violent. She weighs 40 pounds soaking wet. In the bedroom, Linda Foster was gentle but thorough. Sarah, has Mr. Mitchell touched you inappropriately? Made you uncomfortable in any way? Sarah's eyes flashed with anger. No. He's been nothing but kind. He slept on the couch so I could have the bedroom. He asked permission before sitting next to me. He's trying to help me, and you're making it sound dirty. Linda made notes. Sarah, the first foster family says you attacked their son. Sarah's chin lifted. He came into my room at night. I hit him with a lamp. Would you prefer I hadn't? Linda's expression shifted. That wasn't in their report. Of course not, Sarah said coldly. They got money for keeping me. Why would they report that their 16-year-old son was trying to hurt a 5-year-old? Back in the living room, Carter was reviewing files on his tablet. The Ashland Avenue fire. Your brother Marcus was rescued by James Thompson 5 years prior. That's quite a coincidence. Chicago's not that big, Robert said. First responders save a lot of people, but yes, it feels like fate. Or maybe Sarah's parents are watching out for her still. Carter studied him. You're not married. No kids. You work 80-hour weeks. What makes you think you can raise a traumatized 7-year-old? Robert thought carefully. Nothing. I'm probably the worst choice on paper, but I'm here. I'm willing, and she chose to trust me. Do you know how hard that must have been for her? After everything she's been through? Linda emerged from the bedroom with Sarah. We need to do a forensic interview, she announced. Standard procedure. Sarah will need to come to the station. Sarah's face went pale. You're taking me away. It wasn't a question. No, Robert stood. She's not going anywhere without me. Linda shook her head. You can't be present during the interview. It could influence her statements. Sarah was already backing toward the window, her flight instincts kicking in. You promised, she said to Robert, her voice breaking. You said I wouldn't go back. Robert moved slowly toward her. You're not going back. This is just procedure. I'll be right outside the room. I'll wait all day if I have to. Mr. Mitchell, Carter interrupted, there's something else. The second foster family, the Brennans, they're claiming Sarah stole from them. Jewelry, they say, worth thousands. Sarah's face crumbled. Mrs. Brennan's ring. She left it by the sink. I tried to give it back, but she'd already called the police about me running away. I still have it. I kept it safe to return it. She pulled a small ring from her jacket pocket, the jacket she'd refused to throw away. I'm not a thief. I didn't know how to give it back without getting caught. Linda took the ring carefully. This is a $10 costume jewelry piece from Target. I can see the sticker residue. The room went silent. They're trying to paint her as a criminal, Robert said quietly. Why? What do they gain? Carter and Linda exchanged looks. If she's deemed unfit for adoption, she goes back into the system. Back to approved foster families, families that get checks. Robert's understanding dawned with fury. They want her back for the money. Sarah spoke up, her voice steady despite her tears. The Brennans got $800 a month for me. They spent maybe $50 on food and clothes. I did the math at the library. She looked at Linda. Is that why you're really here? To take me back to them? Linda's professional composure cracked. No, sweetheart. I'm here to make sure you're safe. And from what I'm seeing, you're safer with Mr. Mitchell than you've been in 2 years. She turned to Carter. Jim, I'm recommending emergency custody placement with Mr. Mitchell pending full adoption proceedings. This child has been failed enough. Carter nodded slowly. I'll need to verify the Arabic situation. And Mr. Mitchell, you'll need to submit to a full background check, home inspection, the works. Done, Robert said immediately. Anything. Sarah looked between the adults, hope and fear warring in her eyes. Does this mean? It means you're staying with me, Robert said firmly. We're going to fight this together. Just then, Robert's phone buzzed with a news alert. His face went white as he read. The Dubai deal. Someone leaked that a homeless child was involved. The headlines are calling it Millionaire's Mysterious Minor. They're making it sound like I'm exploiting you. Sarah took the phone, reading quickly. Her jaw set with determination. Mr. Mitchell, Robert, give me your phone. It's time Mr. Al-Rashid and his partners heard the truth directly. She looked at the adults in the room. All of you might want to hear this too. You want to know if I'm being exploited? Listen to what I have to say. Sarah stood in the center of the hotel suite, Robert's phone in her small hands, video calling Al-Rashid and his partners in Dubai. The social worker, detective, and Robert watched as she transformed from scared child to confident translator. She spoke in rapid Arabic, then switched to English for her audience. "Mr. Al-Rashid, honored partners, I am Sarah Thompson, the translator from last night. Yes, I am 7 years old. Yes, I am temporarily homeless, but I am not exploited. I'm not coerced. I chose to help Mr. Mitchell because I recognized kindness in crisis. My parents, who died saving others, taught me that helping someone in need is never wrong, regardless of our own circumstances." Her voice carried authority beyond her years. Al-Rashid's voice came through clearly. "Child, tell us your story, all of it." So Sarah did. In both languages, she told them about her parents, the fire, Mr. Hassan, who'd taught her Arabic before he died trying to save others. She spoke of the foster homes, the streets, the libraries where she continued learning. "Mr. Mitchell didn't find me," she concluded. "I found him. I saw someone who needed help and I helped. That he wants to help me in return makes him honorable, not exploitative." One of Al-Rashid's partners spoke. "This is irregular, a child handling such sensitive negotiations." Sarah switched to Arabic, speaking rapidly. Al-Rashid laughed, then translated. She says, "Irregular situations require irregular solutions," and quotes Ibn Khaldun about destiny choosing unlikely vessels. The partner was silent then. The child quotes Ibn Khaldun, accurately, and Rumi, and Al-Mutanabi, Sarah added in English. Mr. Hassan said poetry was the heart of Arabic. Detective Carter stepped forward. "If I may, I'd like to ask Miss Thompson some questions in Arabic to verify her fluency for my report." Sarah nodded. Carter pulled out his phone, where he'd clearly prepared questions with a translator app. His pronunciation was terrible, but Sarah understood. She answered each question, then gently corrected his pronunciation, making even the stern detective smile. "She's legitimate," Carter told Linda. "More than legitimate. She's extraordinary." Linda was taking notes rapidly. "Sarah, would you be willing to take formal language proficiency tests? It would help your case significantly." Sarah nodded, then addressed Al-Rashid again. "Sir, the deal with Mr. Mitchell, will my involvement jeopardize it?" Al-Rashid's response was firm. "On the contrary. In my culture, business blessed by orphans prospers. You've given this deal baraka, blessing. We proceed as planned, but with one addition." Robert tensed. "We're establishing an educational fund in Sarah Thompson's name. $1 million, managed in trust, for her education through doctorate level if she chooses. This is not negotiable, Mr. Mitchell. The child who saved your deal will never want for education." Sarah's composure finally cracked. She sat down hard on the couch, overwhelmed. That's too much." "It's exactly enough," Al-Rashid said gently. "Your parents gave their lives for others. You've given your childhood. Let others give back now." After the call ended, the room was silent. Then Linda Foster spoke. "I'm expediting everything. Emergency custody to Mr. Mitchell, effective immediately. Full adoption proceedings to begin Monday." She looked at Sarah. "You've been through enough systems. It's time you had a home." Carter closed his notebook. "I'll file my report supporting the adoption. And Sarah, those foster families won't bother you again. I'll make sure of it." As the officials prepared to leave, Robert's phone rang. His assistant's voice was panicked. "Robert, reporters are swarming the building. Someone leaked Sarah's identity. They know about her parents, the fire, everything. They're calling her the miracle orphan. News vans are outside." Sarah looked out the window and saw the media circus below. Her breathing quickened. Crowds meant danger on the streets. "I can't go out there. They'll find everywhere I used to hide. The other kids, the ones still out there. Reporters will scare them away from the safe spots." Robert understood immediately. Sarah wasn't just worried for herself. She was thinking of other homeless children who relied on the same heating vents and unlocked dumpsters. "We're not going out the front," he assured her. "But Sarah, they know who you are now. We can't undo that." Sarah's face hardened with resolve. "Then we use it. Those reporters want a story. I'll give them one, but not about me, about all the kids still out there." Robert's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He read it and his face went pale. "Sarah, did anyone else know you spoke Arabic? Anyone from the streets?" Sarah thought. "There was a man. He hung around the library. He heard me practicing once, reading Arabic newspapers. He said he had work for someone with my skills, but I ran. He scared me." Robert showed her the text. "The girl is worth more than you know. Hand her over, or the Dubai deal dies tonight. We have people inside Al-Rashid's organization. You have 2 hours." Sarah read it twice. "It's him. The man from the library. He's not homeless. He was recruiting, looking for kids with skills to use." The pieces clicked together horribly. "Robert, he finds smart homeless kids and—" She couldn't finish. "Carter," Robert called the detective back before he left. "We have a bigger problem." He showed him the text. Carter's expression went dark. "This is human trafficking. I'm calling the FBI." As Carter made calls, Sarah pulled Robert aside. "They'll come for me whether you hand me over or not. These people, I've heard stories on the streets, kids who disappear, smart ones who speak different languages or know computers." Robert's protective instinct roared. "They're not touching you." Sarah looked older than 7 in that moment. "Then we need to be smart. If they have people inside Al-Rashid's company, we need to warn him. And Robert, we're going to need help, real help." She pulled out a crumpled paper from her pocket, phone numbers. "These are other kids, street kids. They see everything. If someone's hunting us, they'll know." As chaos swirled around them, Sarah stood at the window again, her reflection clearer now in the afternoon light. "Mr. Hassan used to say that sometimes Allah sends storms to show us we're stronger than we think." She turned to Robert. "The storm's here. Are you sure you want me?" "It's only going to get more dangerous." Robert knelt to her eye level. "Sarah, I'm not just sure, I'm certain. We're family now, and families face storms together." Outside, the news vans multiplied. Inside, the FBI was being mobilized, and somewhere in Chicago, dangerous people were making plans for a 7-year-old girl who knew too much. Sarah squeezed Robert's hand. "Then we better get ready, because they have no idea who they're dealing with. I survived 2 years on these streets. I'm not running anymore." The FBI safe house in Evanston felt like another cage to Sarah, but at least this one had Agent Patricia Wong, who listened without judgment. "The collector," Sarah said, sketching the man's face with disturbing accuracy. "He's been hunting gifted homeless kids for 2 years, maybe longer." Her pencil captured his scar, his dead eyes. "Ming spoke 3 languages and disappeared last spring. Jorge could code anything, gone in July. Amira knew sign language, vanished 2 weeks ago." Wong studied the sketch. "Sarah, this is human trafficking. These kids, do you know where they might be?" Sarah shook her head. "But I know someone who might. There's a kid named Marcus who lives in the subway tunnels. He tracks everyone, says it's his job to remember us when the world forgets." Robert ended another tense call with Dubai. "Al-Rashid's getting pressure to cancel. Someone inside his company is spreading rumors that Sarah's part of an elaborate scam." Wong frowned. "That's their leverage. They'll destroy the deal unless you hand her over." Sarah suddenly straightened. "Wait. Robert, show me the emails from Al-Rashid's office, all of them." She scrolled through rapidly, then stopped. "This one, the syntax is wrong. A native Arabic speaker wouldn't structure sentences this way. It's someone pretending." She pulled up more emails. "Look, all the suspicious messages have the same linguistic patterns. It's the same person." Wong called her tech team immediately. We need to trace these emails, now. Sarah's burner phone, the one she'd kept hidden for emergencies, buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but she recognized the code. "It's Marcus," she whispered. "He says the collector is moving tonight. They have 3 kids in a warehouse near Cicero." Wong immediately mobilized her team, but Sarah grabbed her arm. "You can't just raid it. He'll kill the kids before you get close. He always has a backup plan." Robert knelt beside her. "Then what do we do?" Sarah's mind raced. "We need to make him think he's won, that he's getting me, but first I need to talk to Al-Rashid directly." The real Al-Rashid. The video call connected at 3 a.m. Dubai time, but Al-Rashid answered immediately. Sarah spoke rapidly in Arabic, then switched to English. "Sir, someone in your organization is compromised. They're working with traffickers. Check your newest liaison, hired within the last 6 months, probably speaks multiple languages, but isn't native Arabic." Al-Rashid's face darkened as he made calls in the background. 20 minutes later, he returned. "A man named David Brennan. Hired 4 months ago. He just emptied his desk and ran." Sarah and Robert exchanged looks. "Brennan? As in my second foster family?" Sarah asked. Wong was already typing. "James Brennan, the foster father. His brother David works in international finance." "They were planning this," Sarah said quietly. "Take in foster kids, identify the gifted ones, sell them to the collector. When I ran, I ruined their plan, but they kept tabs on me." Robert's rage was barely contained. "They used the foster system as a hunting ground." Sarah touched his hand. "Robert, we can stop them, but I need you to trust me. We're going to let them think they've won." She turned to Wong. "I'll be the bait, but we do this my way." Wong shook her head. "Absolutely not. You're 7 years old." Sarah's eyes flashed. "I'm 7 years old who survived 2 years on the streets and speaks 3 languages. Those kids in the warehouse, they're someone's Ming, Jorge and Amira. They're me 6 months ago. We don't have time to argue." She pulled out a crumpled map she'd kept. "The collector follows patterns. He'll want the exchange here, abandoned Methodist church on Western. It's where he tests kids. I was there once, ran before he could grab me." Robert's phone rang. The threatening voice was clear. "You have 1 hour. Bring the girl to Western Methodist. Come alone. Any cops, the Dubai deal dies, and those 3 kids disappear forever." Sarah took the phone. "This is Sarah. I'll come, but I have conditions." The voice laughed. "You don't make conditions, little girl." Sarah's voice went cold. "I do if you want me cooperative. I can scream in 12 languages, or I can walk in quietly. Your choice." There was silence then. "What do you want?" "Robert brings me, but waits outside. I need to know the other kids are alive first, and I want to know why. Why hunt us?" "Smart children are valuable," the collector's real voice came through. "Governments, criminals, corporations, they all need translators, hackers, people who can blend in, because who suspects a child?" "You're worth millions, Sarah Thompson. Your Arabic alone makes you precious, but a genius orphan who speaks multiple languages and understands complex systems, you're priceless." Sarah felt sick but kept her voice steady. 1 hour, Western Methodist. But if those kids are hurt, I'll bite through my own tongue. Try selling a mute translator. On the line went dead. Wong's team was already mobilizing. "Sarah, you're not going in there." Sarah looked at her with 2 old eyes. "Yes, I am, because I'm the only one who can identify the kids and get them to trust rescue. They won't come out for badges and guns. They'll run deeper." The Western Methodist Church stood like a Gothic skeleton against the night sky. Robert parked a block away, his hands trembling on the wheel. "Sarah, please reconsider. There has to be another way." Sarah checked the wire Wong's team had sewn into her jacket collar. "There isn't. But Robert, whatever happens in there, you've already saved me. These 3 days, I had a father again. Thank you." Before he could respond, she slipped out of the car and walked toward the church. Wong's voice crackled in Robert's earpiece. Teams in position. We have eyes on 3 heat signatures in the basement, 4 more throughout the building. Sarah pushed open the heavy door. The sanctuary smelled of mold and pigeon droppings. Moonlight filtered through broken stained glass, casting fragments of color on debris-strewn pews. "I'm here!" she called out. A figure emerged from the shadows, the collector, exactly as she'd drawn him. His scar seemed to pulse in the fractured light. Sarah Thompson, the one who got away. "Do you know how much money you cost me when you ran that first time?" Sarah kept her distance. "Where are the kids?" He gestured to a door. "Downstairs. Would you like to meet your replacement family?" The basement was worse than she imagined. 3 children huddled in a cage. A boy maybe 9, a girl about 6, and another boy around 10. Their eyes were glazed with drugs, but alert enough to track movement. Sarah recognized the signs of sedation without complete unconsciousness. The collector liked his merchandise aware, but compliant. "These 3 are going to Singapore tomorrow," he said conversationally. "Tech prodigies. The older boy can break any encryption. The girl speaks 7 languages despite being deaf. The young one, photographic memory and perfect pitch, useful for memorizing and transmitting coded messages." Sarah moved closer to the cage, signing to the deaf girl, "Police coming, be ready." The girl's eyes widened slightly. She understood. "How many kids have you sold?" Sarah asked, stalling. The collector smiled. 43 over 5 years. You would have been 44, but you had to be difficult. Do you know what your foster family told me about you? That you were teaching yourself calculus at age 6. That you corrected their son's high school French homework. Such waste, hiding under heating vents. The Brennans were part of this from the beginning, Sarah stated. The collector laughed. "James Brennan is my cousin. We've been running this operation since the system got overwhelmed with homeless kids. Foster families are perfect cover. They get paid to evaluate the merchandise." Sarah felt bile rise but kept talking, knowing Wong was recording everything. And the ones who aren't gifted enough? They stay in the system, get aged out, become invisible. No one misses homeless kids, Sarah. That's why you're perfect products. Footsteps on the stairs. David Brennan descended, carrying a medical kit. Time for her dose. "Can't have her fighting on the plane." Sarah backed away. "You said I had a choice." The collector shrugged. "I lied. Hold her." David moved forward, but Sarah had been expecting this. She grabbed a broken piece of wood and swung, catching David in the knee. As he stumbled, she ran to the cage and yanked the lock. Marcus had taught her to pick simple padlocks years ago. "Run!" she screamed to the kids. "Window! Now!" The deaf girl reacted first, pulling the boys toward a small window near the ceiling. The collector lunged for Sarah, but she dropped and rolled, street instincts keeping her moving. "Now!" she yelled, hoping Wong heard. The church erupted with FBI agents, but the collector had a gun out, pointing it at Sarah. "Everyone stops, or she dies." The basement froze. Sarah could see the other kids halfway through the window. Just a few more seconds. "You won't shoot me," she said. "I'm worth too much." The collector smiled. "Wrong. You're worth more as a martyr story to keep the others in line." The gunshot was deafening in the enclosed space, but it wasn't the collector who fired. Robert stood on the stairs, Wong's backup weapon in his shaking hands. The collector's gun clattered away as he grabbed his shoulder. David Brennan tried to run, but was tackled by agents. Sarah ran to the other kids, helping pull the last boy through the window where more agents waited outside. "It's okay," she kept saying. "You're safe. It's over." But the collector, even wounded, laughed. "Over? I'm one supplier. There are dozens of us. You saved 3 kids tonight. Tomorrow 12 more will disappear. You can't stop this." Sarah turned to him, her 7-year-old face holding ancient fury. "Watch us. Every kid you took we'll find. Every operation you run we'll burn. You thought homeless kids were invisible, disposable. But we're not. We're somebody's children. And now, everyone will know." Wong's team processed the scene while EMTs checked the rescued kids. The deaf girl wouldn't let go of Sarah's hand, signing repeatedly, "Thank you." Sarah signed back, "You're brave. You survived." Robert wrapped his coat around Sarah's shoulders. "You could have been killed." Sarah leaned into him, finally allowing herself to be a child. "But I wasn't, and they're free. That's what Mom and Dad would have done." As they walked out, Sarah looked back at the church. Wong needs to check every foster family that's taken in multiple kids in the last 5 years. This is bigger than just the collector. The media explosion was instant and overwhelming. 7-year-old exposes child trafficking ring dominated every headline. Sarah sat in Robert's house, their house now, watching the news with the sound off. She could read the closed captions in 3 languages simultaneously, a skill that now felt like a burden. Robert fielded calls from reporters, lawyers, and Al-Rashid, who'd personally fired 3 more compromised employees. "Sarah," Robert said gently, "Doctor, Chen is here. You promised you'd talk to her." Sarah nodded. The therapist was kind, experienced with trauma, but Sarah struggled to articulate feelings she'd buried for 2 years. "I don't feel 7, Sarah told Dr. Chen. "I haven't felt 7 since the fire. Sometimes I forget what it was like to just be a kid." Dr. Chen nodded. "Trauma does that. It forces us to grow up too fast. But Sarah, you're allowed to be both, the survivor who saved those kids and the child who needs bedtime stories." Sarah pulled her knees to her chest. "The other kids from the streets, they're texting me. They want to know if it's safe to come forward about other collectors. But I don't know what to tell them. The system failed us before." That evening, Agent Wong visited with updates. "We've found 11 more kids based on the collector's records, all alive, scattered across 3 countries. We're working on bringing them home." She paused. "Sarah, we need you to testify. Your testimony could shut down the entire network." Sarah looked at Robert, who immediately said, "Only if she wants to, and with full protection." Sarah stood, looking out at the Chicago skyline. "I'll do it, but I have conditions. The kids who come forward, they need real homes, not just system placement, and I want to help find them." Al-Rashid called during dinner. "Miss Sarah, the educational fund is established, but I've added something. A foundation in your parents' names for gifted homeless children. You'll direct it when you're older. For now, Robert will oversee it with your input." Sarah's eyes filled. "My parents would have loved that." Al-Rashid's voice was warm. "They already did something beautiful. They raised you. This just continues their work." After the call, Robert found Sarah in what would be her room, standing at the window. "You know the best part of having a home?" she asked. "It's not the bed or the food. It's knowing I can look out this same window tomorrow." The next morning brought unexpected visitors. 3 kids from the streets, Marcus, Lily, and Jerome, stood at the door. Marcus, 12 and wary, spoke first. "Sarah said you were safe." Robert immediately invited them in. Over breakfast, their stories emerged. Marcus had been documenting missing kids for 2 years, keeping detailed records in hidden notebooks. Lily, 10, had escaped from a collector in Detroit. Jerome, 8, had been hiding his ability to speak Russian and Polish from everyone except Sarah. "There's a network of us," Marcus explained to Wong, who'd been called over. "Kids who look out for each other, share information about dangerous adults. Sarah was our translator. She'd help kids who didn't speak English navigate services." Wong was taking rapid notes. "This network, how many kids?" Marcus shrugged. "In Chicago, maybe 60, nationwide, hundreds. We use libraries, free Wi-Fi, burner phones. We know which cops are safe, which shelters ask too many questions, which adults are hunting us." Sarah looked at Robert. "They need protection. while they testify. Real protection, not just promises. Robert was already on his phone with his lawyer. "Tom, I need you to set up emergency fostering." "Yes, plural. How many bedrooms do I have?" He looked at the three kids. "You're all staying here until we find you permanent homes, if you want." Lily started crying. "You mean it? We can stay?" Robert knelt to her level. "As long as you need." Marcus remained suspicious. "What's the catch?" Sarah answered. "The catch is you have to go to school and eat vegetables." Robert's very strict about vegetables. That night, with 4 children under his roof, Robert found Sarah teaching the others Arabic phrases. "For safety," she explained. "If we can communicate in languages the bad guys don't know, we can protect each other." Watching them, Robert realized something. "Sarah, what if the foundation didn't just help kids? What if it trained them? Languages, coding, all the skills that made you targets could make you powerful instead." Sarah's face lit up. "Turn our survival skills into superpowers." Exactly. The house filled with laughter for the first time as the kids played a multilingual word game Sarah invented. But later, Robert found her alone in the library, reading news articles about the Collectors Network. "They found 2 more operations today," she said quietly. "In Phoenix and Baltimore, 30 kids recovered." She looked up at him. "I started something, didn't I?" Robert sat beside her. "You started something important, but you don't have to carry it alone anymore." Sarah leaned against him. "The other kids, Marcus, Lily, Jerome, they're my family too. Is that okay?" Robert hugged her carefully. "Family isn't about blood, Sarah. Your parents knew that when they ran into that building. Family is about choosing to save each other." The courtroom was packed for Sarah's testimony. 6 weeks had passed since the church raid, and the full scope of the trafficking network was emerging. Sarah sat in the witness chair, her voice clear and steady as she described the collector's operation. The defense attorney tried to discredit her. "You're asking us to believe a 7-year-old homeless child understood this complex criminal enterprise?" Sarah's response was devastating. "I understood it because I had to. When you're 7 and alone, you learn fast or you disappear. Would you like me to explain in Arabic, Mandarin, or French? I can describe suffering in 12 languages." During a recess, Sarah found Robert in the hallway with unexpected company. Al-Rashid had flown in from Dubai. "I wanted to see the brave child who saved my partner," he said, then knelt to Sarah's level. "But more, I wanted to tell you something. The man you call the collector. He approached my company 2 years ago, offering translation services using specially trained children. I refused and reported him, but nothing happened. I should have done more." Sarah studied his face. "You're doing more now. The foundation has already helped 20 kids get off the streets." Back in court, the prosecutor introduced evidence Sarah had helped decode. The collector's records were partially in Arabic, assuming no one would understand. Sarah translated every damning detail. But the biggest revelation came when she recognized handwriting on a document. "That's Mrs. Brennan's writing, from my foster home. She wrote grocery lists the same way." The FBI analysis confirmed it. The Brennans weren't just involved, they were founding members of the network. By day's end, 17 more arrests had been ordered. That evening, the house was full of celebration. Marcus, Lily, and Jerome had been officially placed in Robert's temporary custody while adoption proceedings began. Other kids from the network visited, sharing information about similar operations in other cities. Sarah created a map on the library wall, marking known collector locations, safe houses, and kids still missing. "We're not just survivors anymore," she told the group. "We're the solution." Robert watched from the doorway as Sarah taught Lily Arabic numbers while Marcus showed Jerome basic coding. They were healing each other, Doctor. Chen visited for Sarah's session, but found all 4 kids waiting. "We want group therapy," Sarah announced. "We've been through similar things." Maybe talking together would help. The session revealed depths of trauma, but also incredible resilience. Marcus had been keeping his records because someone had to remember us. Lily had learned 7 languages from library books because if I could talk to anyone, I'd never be alone. Jerome's photographic memory was both gift and curse. He couldn't forget the bad things, but he also remembered every kindness. Late that night, Robert found Sarah adding names to her wall map. "Amira's alive," she said quietly. "The FBI found her in Seattle. She's coming to Chicago tomorrow to testify." She traced routes between cities. "The collectors moved kids like cargo, Robert. They had routes, schedules, even frequent flyer accounts. We were products to them." Robert studied the map. "What if we used their own network against them? Create safe routes for kids to escape." Sarah turned, eyes bright, "Like an underground railroad for homeless kids." The next morning, Amira arrived, a quiet girl who communicated primarily through sign language. Sarah signed fluently, translating for the others. "She says the collector in Seattle was different. A woman who posed as a social worker. She'd pick up kids from hospitals and shelters, saying she was placing them in special programs." Wong took careful notes. "The network adapts. When we shut down one method, they create another." Sarah signed to Amira, then translated, "She has names." Other kids who were taken. She memorized everything. As Amira shared her information, Robert received a call that changed everything. "Mr. Mitchell, this is Director Harrison from the FBI. Given the scope of this network and Sarah's unique position, we'd like to propose something unusual. A task force specifically for crimes against homeless and foster children, with Sarah and your network of kids as consultants. They know things we never could." Robert looked at Sarah, signing and translating rapidly, surrounded by kids who'd survived the impossible. "Let me discuss it with them." Sarah gathered the kids. "They want us to help officially, to use what we know to save others." Marcus was skeptical. "They failed us before." Lily was hopeful. "But maybe we can change that." Jerome, ever practical, asked, "Would we get badges?" Sarah looked at each of them. "We wouldn't be cops. We'd be consultants. We'd teach them how to find kids, how to earn trust, how to spot collectors. We'd make sure no one else goes through what we did." After a long discussion, they voted unanimously yes. That night, as Robert tucked Sarah in, a ritual she'd finally accepted, she said, "I know who killed my parents, not their names, but what they were." The fire wasn't an accident. The collector mentioned it once, said sometimes they had to clear inventory. Our building had 12 immigrant families, kids who spoke multiple languages. Robert's blood went cold. "Sarah, are you saying—" "They burned the building to collect vulnerable kids in the chaos. But my parents saved everyone they could find. They died heroes, but they were also murdered." She looked at Robert with steel in her eyes. "I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to stop them all." The investigation into the Ashland Avenue fire began quietly. Director Harrison assigned a special unit to review the case, and the evidence was damning. The building's owner had connections to the trafficking network, insurance payouts had been suspicious, and 3 children from the fire had disappeared from foster care within 6 months. Sarah worked with FBI analysts, her perfect memory of that night providing crucial details. "Mr. Hassan mentioned seeing a van watching the building for weeks," she recalled. "He joked that they must really like our terrible parking." The van had belonged to a shell company linked to the collector's network. 4 months had passed since Sarah's rescue, and the house had transformed into something beautiful. Robert had officially adopted all 4 kids, and 3 more from the network were in the process of joining them. The mansion's 6 bedrooms were finally full of laughter. Sarah's Arabic lessons had evolved into a full language program, with kids teaching each other their skills. The foundation Al-Rashid had funded was operational, having helped 50 kids find safe homes and education. One evening, as Sarah taught a new arrival, Tommy, age 5, basic Arabic phrases, Robert received an urgent call. The collector wanted to make a deal. From federal prison, he was offering to reveal the entire network in exchange for a reduced sentence. He wants to speak to Sarah specifically, Wong informed them. Sarah's response was immediate. No deals. He can rot. But Robert saw something in her eyes. Unless, Sarah continued, he gives us everything. Every name, every route, every kid still missing, and he admits to the fire. The meeting happened in a federal facility, with Sarah behind protective glass. The collector looked smaller in orange, his scar pale against prison pallor. You destroyed something that took years to build, he said. Sarah's voice was steady. I destroyed something that never should have existed. Now talk. For 3 hours he detailed the operation. 73 children trafficked over 6 years, buyers in 12 countries. And yes, the Ashland fire was intentional, a harvest opportunity, he called it. Sarah's parents had disrupted it by saving everyone. Your parents were heroes, the collector admitted. If they hadn't acted so quickly, we'd have grabbed at least 8 kids in the chaos. Instead, we got none and lost 3 operatives who were caught in the building. Sarah's hands clenched, but she maintained composure. Their names, the operatives. He provided them, and Wong's team confirmed all 3 had records for child-related crimes. My parents didn't just save the families, Sarah whispered. They stopped 3 predators. The revelation brought her the first real peace she'd felt about their deaths. Back home, Sarah called a meeting of all the kids living with Robert. We know the whole network now. The FBI will take years to prosecute everyone, but we can do something now. She unveiled her plan, a warning system for street kids, using the library networks and their informal communication channels. Within days, every homeless kid in Chicago knew the signs of collectors, had emergency numbers, and understood their rights. The system spread to other cities. Kids teaching kids how to survive. Al-Rashid visited for the Foundation's official launch. The event was held at the Chicago Public Library, Sarah's former refuge. She gave a speech in 3 languages, announcing programs for language education, coding camps, and emergency shelter for gifted homeless youth. Every child has gifts, she said. Some speak languages, some solve problems, some create art. Our foundation makes sure those gifts are nurtured, not exploited. The crowd gave her a standing ovation, but Sarah only had eyes for Robert, who was crying openly. That night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She found Robert in the library, working on adoption papers for 2 more kids. Can't sleep either, he asked. Sarah curled up in the chair across from him. I keep thinking about all the kids we haven't found yet. The ones still out there. Robert set down his papers. Sarah, you're 8 now. You've done more than anyone could expect. It's okay to just be a kid sometimes. Sarah smiled sadly. I don't know how to just be a kid, but maybe I can learn. A knock at the door interrupted them. Marcus stood there with his laptop. Sarah, you need to see this. He'd been monitoring chat rooms where street kids communicated. There's a new collector in Boston. Kids are disappearing again. Sarah's jaw set with determination. Then we stopped them. We know their patterns now. Robert started to protest, then stopped. This was who Sarah was, who all these kids were, survivors who'd become protectors. By morning, the FBI had the information, and Boston police were mobilizing. 3 kids were recovered within 48 hours. The new collector was arrested, and Sarah's network had proven its worth again. But the real victory came when one of the rescued kids, a 6-year-old who spoke Farsi, was brought to Chicago. Sarah translated as the girl told her story, then held her as she cried. You're safe now, Sarah promised in Farsi. We've got you. Watching Sarah comfort the younger girl, Robert realized something had shifted. Sarah was still healing, but she'd found her purpose. These rescued kids didn't just need homes, they needed someone who understood. Sarah and the others were becoming exactly what they'd needed themselves. Proof that survival was possible, that someone cared, that they weren't alone. The foundation wasn't just saving kids, it was creating a new kind of family. 1 year later, Sarah stood before Congress, 9 years old, but speaking with the authority of someone who'd lived multiple lifetimes. The Protecting Vulnerable Youth Act was being debated, and Sarah's testimony would be crucial. "Distinguished members of Congress," she began, "I'm here representing 127 children who survived trafficking and countless others who didn't. We're not asking for pity, we're asking for change." She detailed the systemic failures, the legal loopholes, the funding gaps that allowed predators to hunt children. The room was silent except for her clear voice. The Brennans received $800 monthly per foster child while spending less than $50. They used the system as a catalog for predators. This wasn't one bad family. It was an industry. Today, with the laws as they are, it could happen again tomorrow. She switched briefly to Arabic, then translated, "That was a Syrian proverb Mr. Hassan taught me. The wound that doesn't kill you must teach you. Our wounds have taught us that the system needs reconstruction, not patches." When she finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the chamber. The vote was unanimous. The act passed with provisions for mandatory background checks, regular welfare visits, and a special task force for missing foster children. But more importantly, it established funding for programs like Sarah's Foundation nationwide. Robert waited outside the chamber with Marcus, Lily, Jerome, and their 5 new siblings. When Sarah emerged, they group-hugged, a tangle of kids who'd become family. "You did it," Robert whispered. Sarah shook her head. "We did it." Back in Chicago, the house had become the unofficial headquarters for their growing network. Kids from across the country connected through secure channels Sarah and Marcus had designed. They'd identified and stopped 17 trafficking attempts in the past year. The foundation had placed 200 kids in safe homes and provided education to 500 more. But tonight was different. Tonight was Sarah's 9th birthday, the first she'd celebrated since her parents died. Al-Rashid had flown in for the occasion, bringing gifts and news. The Dubai office has established a Middle East branch of the foundation. 17 countries have committed funding. But his real gift was more personal, a video message from kids the foundation had saved, each thanking Sarah in their native language. Sarah watched, translating automatically, tears streaming down her face. "That's Dmitry from Detroit. He's speaking Russian, and Lynn from San Francisco in Mandarin. Oh, and Fatima from Boston in Arabic." Each child shared how their life had changed. As the party continued, Sarah slipped away to the library. Robert found her at her map wall, now covered with green pins, marking saved kids alongside the red ones for those still missing. "The green is winning," she said quietly. Robert stood beside her. "Your parents would be so proud." Sarah touched 2 photos she'd added to the wall, her parents at their wedding. "I used to think they died for nothing. Just random heroes in a random tragedy. But now I know they died stopping something evil, and were continuing their work." A soft knock interrupted them. Tommy, now 6 and thriving, stood in the doorway. "Sarah, can you teach me another Arabic word?" Sarah smiled and lifted him onto her lap. "What word do you want to learn?" Tommy thought carefully. "How do you say family in Arabic?" Sarah's voice was warm. "Ayla, it means family." Tommy repeated it perfectly, then asked, "What's family in all your languages?" As Sarah taught him, more kids wandered in, drawn by the lesson. Soon the library was full, kids teaching each other words for family in dozens of languages. Robert watched from the doorway as Sarah orchestrated the chaos, translating between languages, making sure everyone was included. This was her gift, not just the languages, but the ability to connect people, to build bridges where there had been walls. The doorbell rang, and Robert went to answer it. A social worker stood there with two small children, siblings aged 4 and 5. Mr. Mitchell. These children were rescued from a trafficking attempt in Milwaukee. They only speak Vietnamese, and we heard that we have someone who can help, Robert finished. He called out, "Lily, we need Vietnamese translation." Lily appeared immediately, dropping to the children's level and speaking softly in their language. Within minutes, the terrified children were cautiously following her to the kitchen for food. Sarah appeared beside Robert. "We'll need to expand again." Robert laughed. "We're out of bedrooms." Sarah grinned. "Then we get a bigger house, or another house next door. The foundation can afford it." She was right, of course. Donations had poured in after her congressional testimony. Later, as Robert did his nightly rounds, checking on each child, he found Sarah still awake, writing in a journal. "What are you writing?" he asked. She showed him. It was in Arabic, English, and French, alternating languages every few sentences. "It's our story, all of us, so no one forgets what happened, but also so people know we survived, that we did more than survive, we thrived." She looked up at him. "Is it okay that I still think about the streets sometimes? That I still check exits and hide food?" Robert sat on her bed. "It's okay to remember. Those instincts saved you. Just remember, you're safe now." Sarah closed her journal. "Robert, the call from Al-Rashid 3 years ago. If I hadn't helped, would you really have lost everything?" Robert nodded. "Everything. The company, the house, probably my sanity." Sarah smiled. "And if you hadn't found me, I might not have survived that winter. Funny how saving each other works." She yawned. "I love you, Dad." It was the first time she'd called him that. Robert's voice was thick with emotion. "I love you too, sweetheart." As Robert turned off the light, Sarah's voice came through the darkness. "The FBI wants me to train their translators, and the State Department called about consulting on international trafficking cases." Robert paused at the door. "What do you want to do?" Sarah's answer was pure 9-year-old, all of it. "But first, tomorrow, can we just go to the park? All of us? Like a normal family?" Robert smiled. "Like a perfectly normal family of 12 kids who speak 30 languages between them and consult for the FBI. Sarah giggled, the sound of a child who'd found her way home. "Yeah, our kind of normal."